Welcome to the Medical Ancillary Sales Podcast, your number one source for making money in the medical ancillary sector. Mike and Viv bring you the latest information from lab services, pharmacy, diagnostic testing, and so much more. The latest in ancillary services will be right around the corner. Welcoming the hosts of the Medical Ancillary Sales Podcast, here's Mike and Viv.
Hello and welcome to the Medical Ancillary Sales Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Berg, and joined as always by Viv Hudson. Viv, I got a scenario for you. Have you ever been in this situation? You've made a couple sales calls to the doctor. They're interested. They give you some strong indicators that, yeah, I think I want to move forward with this program. And then 6 weeks later, after 10 sales calls, you still haven't closed the deal, and now you feel like you're a nag and that they don't want to see you around the practice and the doctor is running out. Has this ever happened to you?
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, some of those decisions, you kind of like, well, what's the problem? What's the problem? Why aren't you buying? Now, doctors, we know, are notoriously busy people, and their minds are being busy, dragged from the day-to-day running of their practice or their continuing education, just keeping up with the changes in CMS and everything else, the insurance reimbursements, let alone looking after their patients. Their brains must be just about exploding by the end of every day. And I guess it's easy when you're a salesperson that you're so focused on your product, you think everybody else is, but the reality is that that's not the case. So believe it or not, you coming in, you're probably not always front of mind with a physician, and they may not remember actually how many times you've been in the last 2 weeks or 6 weeks.
Well, yeah.
So you might not be as pushy as perhaps what you might feel like you are.
Well, yeah, there are people too. And Viv, I got my to-do list out here. I can tell you that I've had backup hard drive moved onto my weekly to-do list for the last 6 weeks. I'm meaning to do it. I just haven't done it. And I'm telling
you, do you need a pushy salesperson to tell you to do it?
I need a pushy salesperson to say, damn it, you could lose all your data. But I need a new hard drive, first of all. And it's like, it's a couple-step process. And I just I have other things to do. And it always finds its way to the bottom of my to-do list. And I've been procrastinating. That will be until the day my hard drive crashes. And then you'll hear me in tears. But but I think it works. It's the same thing with doctors. It's not necessarily that I don't find value in backing up my hard drive, and it's not that I don't intend to do it. It's just that it's going to the bottom of my to-do list week after week, and eventually I will get to it. But so Viv, what are some of the techniques you use when you sense that's what's going on with your practice, that you're getting they're not saying no, but they're kind of, you're always second tier. That's always, yeah, we'll get around to it.
I think a question is always a good way to go, and asking somebody something like, well, what would stop you from making a decision about this today? And as soon as you ask a question, it allows your prospect to do the talking. And when you ask a question like that, shut up. Do not say another thing. Let them speak. If there's a pregnant pause, let there be a pregnant pause, because what comes out of their mouth next and what unfolds from there will give you the real truth of what is stopping them. So that's my secret right there.
Well, I think with me, I've learned this from a couple sales pros, and I hate to keep bringing Jason back into this because he barely listens to these podcasts as it is. So he's going to have to listen.
Maybe we should bring him in.
Well, that's why I'm mentioning him. Now he's going to have, wait, my name is mentioned. But I do remember one of the things that he did well in the business, and he didn't invent this, but picked it up from some of the top sales reps. To get people motivated, one of the things, he would always turn it around back on people. and say, okay, so doctor, this is what this program is going to do for you. It's going to do X, Y, and Z. It's going to have these benefits for your patient, and always take into consideration their motivation. Why are they doing it? If you feel like the doctor is money motivated, which a lot of them are, then you pull that into it. So doctor, if you do this allergy program, let's say, doctor, I know you're looking at pulling the trigger on this allergy program. Well, this is what it's going to do for you. Now, you mentioned to me that you should be able to get roughly 20 patients a month into an immunotherapy program. Well, that's going to make you, about $40,000 a month. So, and if we pull the trigger here in the next week, that means we should be set up and you should be able to get 10 months through. That's $400,000. Now, right there, is that what you're looking to do, Doc? Is this something that you're looking to pull the trigger on sooner or later? Are you looking to make the $400,000 now? Or we could do this in 4 months and then you'll make $320,000. Or we could do it in 6 months and you'll make $200,000. Guys, don't email me about my math being off. I just do it off the top of my head. But the point being, you ask them, what do you want to do? What is a priority for you, doctor? Are you looking to make that $400,000 this year? Well, yeah, I am. As soon as they tell you what their motivation is, say, okay, doc, in order for that to happen, I would need to get a contract from you by a week from Thursday at the latest. And then we would have to do an orientation by the following Wednesday. That way we have all the supplies and everything in by, February 23rd, and then that gives us a full week so that we could be fully testing by March 1st, and that will give you a full 10 months of testing, and bam, there's your $400,000. Is that what you're telling me you want to do? They're telling you always turn it around on them. What do you want to do? Now when you're going back in and it's a week from Thursday when you're supposed to have the signed contract and they're hemming and hawing and I'll get to it, come back next week. Well, doc, I can come back in 6 months if you want. I'm here because you told me you wanted to make $400,000. The only way I can make that happen is if I get the signed contract tomorrow. If that's not your motivation, I'm here for you. I work for you. Consider me a resource for you. So you tell me what are you looking to do? If you want to make $300,000, that's fine. I'm going to put you on my calendar and I'll come back in 2 months. And you got to hold to that too. And the other thing is, I tell doctors, if it doesn't look like it's a priority, instead of nagging them, you're not going to get anywhere nagging them because they know you're just going to keep coming back. And just like I keep putting that backup hard drive on my to-do list week after week, I know at the end of the week when I'm exhausted and I'm already mentally fried and I'm like, back up my hard drive, forget that. That's going on next week's to-do list. That's essentially what the doctors are doing. You don't give them that option. You say, well, okay, if I have a lot of practices that I'm dealing with, and I'd be more than happy to work with you. I would love to work with you. But if this is not something that's a priority right now, I have other doctors that this is a priority for right now. So you let me know when you are ready. And if you want, if this is a bad time for you, I'll come back in 2 months. Now what that does is a lot of people will say, yeah, come back in 2 months. Well, they just saved you a bunch of sales calls because what other reps are going to do is they're going to go back there every week or two and they're going to waste 6 or 8 sales calls and they weren't going to make the sale anyway. If they say, or it's going to motivate them to make the decision quick.
What I like about that is when you're saying, right, for you to make X amount of money, then this is the plan. And I think sometimes that's what people need is like with those things that require change or something that they've got to think about when their life's already crazy. Sometimes that's what they need is actually somebody to come in and just tell them what needs to happen and assist them in making it happen. I think one of the biggest challenges for instituting any new product or service with a physician's office is actually the implementation. So as hard as it may be to get the sale, then it's getting them to have their staff engage in using the new product or service or screening the patients or whatever they might need to do. And if you can break down some of those steps with the plan as part of that sales process, then you are adding value rather than being a pushy salesperson.
Oh, without a doubt, Viv. And so the thing about it is you're not threatening them like, hey, you got to do it by next Thursday or you can't do it. What I'm telling the doctor is I spend a lot of time with my practices. You're going to be glad I came in here because I'm going to make your life a lot easier. Doctors love hearing that. You're going to make their lives easier. This is why. I'm going to personally be here. I'm going to make sure that all your staff is brought up to speed. I'm going to make sure you have all the resources you need. I'm going to make sure all your questions are answered. I'm going to be your personal concierge. But I give that level of service to all my clients. So I already have some other practices that I'm doing with. I'd love to work with you too. When you're ready to work with me and you're ready for that level of service, I'm going to put everything I have into it. But I need a commitment from you. That's basically what you get down to. However you got to word it to get down to a commitment, yes or no. And if you're saying no, that's fine. I'll put you on my calendar, Doc. I'll come back in 60 days, and we'll revisit it in 60 days. But the more time I spend with you, I'm doing a disservice to the other practices that are ready to move forward on this. And when it's time for you to move forward on this, I'm not going to be spending time chasing other people. I'm going to be laser focused on you and your needs.
And I think that that's an important point to make, because you can very easily devalue your own time when you're chasing a lot of these doctors. I mean, I've spent way too many hours sitting in a waiting room waiting for a doctor to see me, to then have them turn around, oh, sorry, they can't see you today now, they've got to run off or whatever. And each time I would go to this one particular office, I would just about smack myself in the head afterwards, like, why do I do this week after week? And yeah, it's just one of those things that you just have to remember, that your time is important. And for every doctor that's not out there ready to see you right now, there is somebody else that is open and willing. And particularly if you believe in your product and know that it's going to provide a better service, better value, increased revenue, whatever it might be, you know that there's somebody out there that's willing to listen.
Yeah, that's right. And don't mistake this as you are going to stop prospecting because they haven't said yes. Prospecting is different. That's the first step in sales. And I still would do the bus stops. I've always done that, and it works brilliantly. It really honestly works good when you just have regular set intervals. Someone that's never said yes and you think maybe never will say yes, or it's a long shot, I still would make regular scheduled stops to their practice. It might be once a month or whatever. Hey, just checking in, just making sure you know my face and name. Here's some information for you. Are you guys if you're looking to do any of this, I want Mike Berg to be the first person you think of when you think of whatever the services that I'm selling. But I'm talking about that next step when they say, yeah, that's interesting, let's take a look at it, and you start taking a deeper dive on one of the programs. At that point, then it's time to or get off the pot. Yeah,
that's it. That's another great analogy there.
Well, this is a family podcast, Viv, and lots of kids listen to this, so I gotta keep it clean.
Well, kids need to listen to this, because I've said it before. It's like if you can do well in sales, you can write your own paycheck, and you don't need a college degree to do it. So kids need to be listening to this to get their heads in the game from an early start, and they'll be a lot better off than you and I are by the time they get to our age.
I think they use it as a form of punishment. I heard they play this podcast in detention at some of the local high schools here. They make them listen to just episode after episode in half speed.
You're too funny.
All right, Viv. I think we covered it.
All right. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks.